on, film.
Let's get the wordle on. The gym. I'm going to the gym now. I have to run 5 miles today, which is sort of brutal for a Monday morning, but that seems to be what my coach prefers. I'm running on the treadmill these days only because if I have to go to the bathroom, I can use the bathroom.
Babe?
Finished 5 miles, but mostly I'm proud that I didn't have to stop for a bathroom break. Hello.
Oh. Recovering.
How long did you run?
6 miles.
Oh, just 1 mile more than me.
Huh?
Just 1 mile more than me.
Oh, surprised I didn't see you out there.
I wasn't outside. So normally I would just literally continue wearing what I wore during my workout because I'm lazy. But I remembered I actually have a podcast today, not my own. I'm going to be doing a podcast for my friend Toby. And so I need to look presentable. I'm really glad I brushed my teeth today. I bought this in Sardinia. I think it was not during our honeymoon. It was our first trip to Sardinia. So much better than the $6 latte that you're wasting your money on. So tomorrow is podcast live day, which means today I need to work on all the social media posts for the week related to the podcast. I already have footage that I've captured for this, but holy shoot, it's going to take a minute to edit those because I need to write. I don't ever just take clips from the podcast. I always write a story related to the topic of the podcast. And then I need to edit the actual footage. And then I need to do the voiceover, produce the entire thing. And I like to have everything ready before tomorrow because I want to launch it first thing in the morning so that it gives the post to live all day and push people to the podcast. I've lived most of my life with a crippling fear of abandonment. It started when I was very little, an incident that convinced me that my mother would eventually leave me and my brother forever because we were bad kids. I grew up believing that the surefire way to push someone away was to want them to stay. This instinct was erected upon a firmly held conviction that I wasn't worthy of love. I think the hardest part was that I didn't know any of this about myself until it was too late, when I'd already fallen in love with Anthony. As soon as I realized how emotionally vulnerable I'd made myself to him, I pulled back out of fear because I was so terrified he would leave me. Sometimes I would shut down and pull away from him, partly because I was so ashamed of how much I wanted him to stay, but partly because I wanted him to prove to me repeatedly that he wanted to stay. In the end, the contradiction was just too much for our relationship, and he broke up with me. By the time I drummed up the courage or desperation to just say, please, don't leave me, it was too late. He pulled himself from me, put his hands on my shoulders, said very firmly, Joanne, you need to stop. And then he walked out the door. So good. These are addictive. Hi, doggy. Hello.
Came today. Oh, really? Cool. I knew you were getting it.
That's very flattering coming from the head singer of a very important group.
I didn't shave. The ritual does all the time. Let's go eat, man. I want some tofu. I want some salad.
But that's soy.
It's not soy.
You're hurting the soybean.
Having the ads, it doesn't really bother me.
Yeah.
Although now that I'm saying that, I'm wondering, does he?
$3 tofu.
That looks really pretty.
It is nice.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna be with ham.
Such a pretty Caesar salad. Caesar salad with tofu.
In person.
Iced
Not
tea.
popping that
Those are
shit
going to be on
anymore.
my vlog, FYI.
Hi.
Hi.
We said amazing mix on Beverly.
I've been working for days on a birthday gift for Anthony, and I usually try and make something for him. This year, I made an entire podcast episode about our love story. I wanted to put words to how and why I fell in love with him because I think it's nice to hear that, even from people you've been with for a long time. It took me 4 whole days to put it together, and on the last night, I stayed up late, and instead of wrapping gifts, I edited everything so that it sounded as perfect as I could make it. Finally, at around 1 a.m, I went to bed, and then I woke up, and I asked him, how'd you like the podcast? And while pulling on a t-shirt, he says, I actually really didn't like it. I guess I'm not as interesting a person to write about. And when I gave him a look of sheer horror, he said, what? I just didn't like it. And then I threw a spoon at him. I have no idea where it came from. And I started to sob, saying, I knew it. I was crying so hard, and all of a sudden, I heard a voice right next to me whispering, babe, wake up. Are you okay? Wake up. I opened my eyes, and he was right next to me, looking so concerned. A few minutes later, he kissed me and jumped out of bed, saying, thank you in advance for all the nice things you said about me in the podcast.